Cyclejerks.
Hey, get out of the road, dummy.
Cyclejerks podcast.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Cyclejerks podcast. Today, we are joined once again by award-winning author Matt Fitzgerald, known for his insightful writings on endurance sports and personal development. Matt's latest book, Chasing Mastery, offers a fresh perspective on what it takes to achieve greatness in sports and in life. We'll dive into the ideas behind this new release and explore Matt's thoughts on the pursuit of mastery. Matt, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, great to be back. I'm on a mission to normalize beer drinking during podcast interviews. So just had a sip here of my Hop Valley West Coast IPA.
All right. Well, cheers to that. I'm drinking water, but you know.
Okay. Hey.
Mm-hmm. Well,
water's delicious.
Yeah, that's something as we get into it, I want to talk to you a little bit about self-sabotage, But let's cover this book. Let's get into it. I mean, you sent me a pre-release copy of it, and man, I just ate this thing up. I love how you lay everything out. It's really like just giving framework on the concept of mastery, and you lay out the 5 pillars of motivation, learning, understanding, individuation, and challenge. And yeah, to me, it's like the most. I mean, a lot of your books do cover, a lot of these elements, but just in a different way. I think the way that you have it laid out in this book is really just it's a manual that somebody can use to really achieve mastery. So yeah, can you talk a little bit about how you came to these 5 pillars?
Yes, I'm very self-taught in this space. I've been an athlete all my life. A competitive endurance athlete since age 11. I'm about to turn 54, so that's a lot of experience. And then I've been writing about running since I was in high school.
Yeah.
So, I've been like a student of the sport. And I've been in a position of like trying to communicate the things I'm learning and, share them with other people for a very long time. And then I've also been a coach for a very long time. And what I'm not is like an exercise scientist or a psychologist. But since the beginning, I have felt that, the psychological limiters are the big limiters in endurance sports. You can only do so much about your genes, right? But like the mind is very plastic. I'm here. I've lived it. My mind is so much more a strength and so much less a liability now than it was when I was a young athlete. So yeah, I'm here to tell you, just amazing progress can be achieved with a focus on the mind. And so yeah, now at this point, with all the experience I've accumulated, I feel like, there's just this developmental process that every endurance athlete has to go through. And we tend to think of development in purely physical terms, but, you're not going to do the progressive, consistent, hard work required to reach your full physical potential unless your mind is behind that. Your body only goes where your mind leads. And that's why not everyone chooses to go down that path. It's like, you know what? I'm out. Like that's a little bit too much for me. So yeah. But it's a really enriching and rewarding journey when you decide, you know what, I really want to do whatever it takes to reach my full potential as an athlete. Yeah. And then, there's just these stages that you go through, and you have to start at the beginning, and there probably is no end. But the 5 stages you enumerated are like, that's what it looks like to me from the perspective as an athlete, as a student of the sport, and as a coach.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I've always liked about your books is that you pull from science, but you also the psychology of it and how they intertwine with each other. And like, I've done some really hard things. And, I've had people join me for parts of it, and so maybe towards the end, you get questions like, oh, I mean, everything's got to be hurting. It's like, well, yeah, everything hurts. It's like, but you can't allow yourself to go down that path of woe is me, I'm hurting, whatever it may be. And
Hmm.
you just have to be it's I really believe the mind is the key to it. But like you said, you can't, I mean,
Hmm.
genetics obviously play a role, but you have to have that willingness to put in the work and to suffer and to have the right mind frame.
Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I've done enough. I put in a good job today or whatever." But to take it to that next level, your mind has got to be strong because everything's going to hurt, whether you're doing a marathon, a triathlon, or some crazy cycling event, or any other type of endurance. I know your books have covered rowers and
Hmm.
different athletes. Everyone hurts, like
Hmm.
really, really bad, you
Yeah,
know,
that's
and
what
you
you signed up for.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yep.
right. And so you either need to learn how to embrace it and use it as fuel, or you need to, or you're just not going to get there. And
Yep.
yeah, that's what I love about this particular book because, like I said, I've been able to glean some of this stuff from your other books. That we talk about them. I say we because I used to have a co-host, but
Yep.
we talk about how bad do you want it and the comeback quotient. Those are regular topics on this show. And so yeah, we were definitely anxious to see the next book, and didn't disappoint at all. And I've actually printed out you have this table 10.1, the health and fitness effects of endurance training.
Yep.
So I've printed this out and I've given it to my parents and my
Nice.
father-in-law, and I've just tried to give them a nice little nudge.
Yes.
We have an exercise bike in the garage for them, and so I just trying to encourage them to push beyond uncomfortable. You got to get yourself there.
Hmm.
But yeah, I've got some questions. So I had a thing recently where I tested high for liver enzymes. And I know in the book you talk about liver muscle glycogen stores, and I'm just curious, is there a way that you can measure those without going to a doctor or
No, no,
okay,
you
right.
can't. Yeah, no,
That's what I thought.
it's invasive. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but I went down this road with my doctor because my enzymes were elevated and they were concerned about it. And
Hmm.
so, I had to I had to not exercise for 3 days and then go back and get another test. And it turns out that the day before that I did the liver enzyme test, I had actually gone for a pretty significant ride.
Hmm.
And that I think that caused my enzymes to elevate.
Yep.
And so the second time the enzymes were lower, but I did some research and it seems like this is a pretty common problem with runners and endurance athletes in general. Do you have any experience in this area?
No, I actually don't.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know I can talk to you all day about uh, muscle glycogen storage, but like normal enzyme levels, yeah, that is beyond my pay grade, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. All right, good. Well, yeah, I mean, as it turned out, it was just a blip in the radar for me. And
Hmm.
I went back for the first year, I went back every 3 months and was getting tested. And I wouldn't go hard on a bike for 2 days prior to the test each time.
Hmm.
And the levels were fine. But yeah, I just didn't know how pervasive that might be, you know. Yeah, I mean, there's so much in the book. It's like it's hard to, the stories are there with the individual athletes. One that stands out is the Mo Farah, success after age 28.
Yep.
And that's encouraging as somebody who's 58.
Yes.
I'm looking for
Yep.
every bit of edge I can gain. But
Yes.
it's funny how it's sleep, eat, train, and rest.
Hmm.
I mean, these are all basic things, but
Hmm.
it's just a matter of focus. And like I was saying before about self-sabotage, I feel like a lot of athletes will put in the work, but then when it comes to diet or it comes to maybe it's beer, maybe it's whatever,
Hmm.
right? There's things where it's like, hey, I work hard, I can do this.
Mhm.
And then is that something that you find in elite athletes also that they have that same type of I mean, self-sabotage might be a little bit much of a term, but do you find that the elite athletes have that as well, or are they just completely focused?
I mean, as you would expect, the athletes who rise to that level tend to be more dialed in, like
Yeah.
psychologically, because it really is, this makes the point. The top 14-year-old endurance athletes are almost never the top 28-year-old endurance athletes. Like we tend to think that talent is destiny, but that's really not what happens.
Mhm.
That's why it really is a developmental process. It's not how much potential do you have, it's how much do you make of the potential you have. So at
Mhm.
age 14, talent rules because everyone is undeveloped at that point, but there's going to be a reshuffling of the deck over the next 14 years. And the athletes who are at the top of 14, statistically, in all sports actually, are unlikely to be at the top still 14 years later. Whereas ones that, yeah, they had decent genes, but they just made more of the potential they had over that developmental process. They're the ones that end up at the top. So it really is. I mean, you just see it. I'm fortunate. I spend a lot of time around recreational, competitive endurance athletes, and a lot of time around some of the best endurance athletes in the world. And you just see it. Like, you know, they do, like, every athlete self limits in some way. I think
Mhm.
that's the term you wanted, not self sabotage. So like
Yeah.
self limit.
Self-limit.
Like everyone does in some way. Like even some of the most like just top uh, champion level athletes like struggle with self doubt still and things like that. But by and
Yeah.
large, yes, like the athletes at the apex, they're dialed in mentally. Um, yeah, they're just in control of themselves and athletes. That's the way I see it as a coach. Like some athletes are just they don't seem to be entirely in control of themselves.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's all about control. Because what are you going to use control for? The betterment of yourself as an athlete.
Yeah.
So it's a have to have.
Yeah, well, and that's where psychology could play obviously plays a big role in this. Like if you're 14 and wrecking shop on everybody that you're competing against, it's hard. I mean, it would be exceptional for somebody to keep that same level of dominance
Yes.
throughout the arc of their life because
Yep.
it's just natural. If you're just beating everybody all the time, you're not as hungry as a person that's not
Hmm.
there yet. And so, yeah, that's where the psychology really plays a role in it for sure. I did like how there was a point where you're talking about how to evaluate performance, right? Like time vs reaching more of your total potential, right?
Yep.
So there's this whole concept of the fastest runner is the better athlete,
Yep.
but you could also make a case that someone who's, you know, running way beyond their potential is, you could recognize that as well. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. How do you, I know you have your facility down there in Flagstaff, Arizona, the Dream Run
Yep.
facility.
Yep.
Sounds like an amazing place. And how do you incorporate that when you're working with people down there with this concept of not being focused so much on the time, but just the elasticity of your effort and what you're able
Yes.
to accomplish?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's these are like core values,
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean the slogan of Dream Run Camp is let your passion, not your ability, decide how far you go. And so, I'm Exhibit A. Like I mentioned, I started running competitively when I was 11 years old. By the time I was 14 or 15, I knew I wasn't going to the Olympics. you
Uh-huh.
know, like
Yeah.
I understood that I was like an all-state runner in high school, but not a state champion, and it was a small state.
Uh-huh.
uh, um, but for me, like I loved running enough and I had enough of a knack for it that I really just wanted to go on the full ride. I knew I would never get a scholarship or a shoe contract, but I
Hmm.
still wanted to just push the sport as far as the eventual Olympians get to do, thanks to scholarships and shoe contracts. Um, and I did it, and it's just been like an incredible journey to be able to say, just as like a random Wednesday runner, like I got to reach the absolute limit of my potential, um, and and so that's what I'm trying to sell to other athletes. I mean, you can do it forever for whatever reason you want. I'm
Hmm.
not here to dictate that, but having experienced what I have, like I want that option because so many athletes if they don't if they know they don't have Olympic potential, they don't feel like they deserve to go on the full journey. And that's the
Hmm.
barrier. That's the real self-limiting thing that like I'm trying to get rid of. It's like, hey, if you love it and you
Yeah.
want to see what you can do, go for it. Who cares like how old you are or how slow you are, whatever. Go
Right.
take the ride.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly they have age group classifications, and so
Yes.
there's really no reason to stop if it's something that, it's a passion of yours. The Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, I know so many of my contemporaries, they get caught up in they got to be on the podium every weekend or whatever, it's just like, yeah, I'm not motivated by that. I
Mm-hmm.
am motivated by the discipline. I feel like the discipline is a huge part of it for me. I like the routine, being locked in, like
Mm-hmm.
this is what I do, and
Mm-hmm.
I just stick with that. Um, and occasionally, you're on a podium, great, but that doesn't really motivate me. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that could be something it's really hard to maintain. And, my dad was always like, there's always somebody faster, and that's true, so to get caught up in if you win or lose, I mean, that's a tough one,
Yes.
but well, okay. So one of the other things I really liked was the God or servant test. And
Yes.
I have to say, since reading this has really messed with me in my life
Oh God.
because not just from like a coaching standpoint, but it's like people I work with, my relationships, I
Hmm.
start thinking about in these terms, God or
Yep.
servant. And can you expand on that a little bit? Because I really think that's an important piece of the
Yes.
puzzle. Yeah.
Yes. So what I'm talking about in that lesson is, um, to reach your full potential as an athlete, you're gonna need help along the way. You just are like nobody does it alone.
Yeah.
And so okay, it's good to accept that. Like you need like probably a good coach or more than one good coach, but also, maybe a good physical therapist, maybe a good dietitian, like maybe a good massage therapist,
Hmm.
maybe a good sports psychologist or mental performance consultant. Um, and so what you're doing there is you're putting your trust in other people. You're like, I'm never going to know everything, and you can't massage yourself anyway,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
not very well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like you acknowledge that you need help, but then you need to be selective in the help you choose. And I've seen it. Like I like to think that I am a trustworthy coach.
Hmm.
I take that very seriously, like trying to be trustworthy. But what I've seen is that there's a difference between the sort of like postures and behaviors that tend to inspire trust initially in athletes and those that are actually worthy of trust. So it's like the flashy stuff that
Hmm.
people get hooked on, like supreme confidence. Like supreme confidence is not trustworthy. It inspires trust in a lot of people, but what's like actually like a trustworthy trait is like empathy. Like when it's all about you, the athlete, and not all about the coach. And so that's what the God or servant test is all about. It's
Yeah.
like a litmus test for like whether you're as an athlete, whether you're choosing a coach or a dietitian or whatever, when presented with that individual that you're considering, hiring, um, you know, are they do they want to appear godlike to me? And that's all the stuff that tends to inspire trust, but shouldn't,
Hmm.
because it isn't actually trustworthy. And the more subtle stuff like empathy, and so like if the person, if the coach or whatever presents themselves more as a servant, like it's all about you, and yes, of course they have to have some confidence and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so it's just like, it's one of the handy little takeaways from the book. Like, just like next time you're about to hire a coach or a sports psychologist, like take this, just apply this little standard to them and then make your decision.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like I said, it's really been, for whatever reason, it's one of the things that really stuck with me out of the book, And this past weekend we just had the Sea Otter Classic down in
Yes.
Monterey, and I got to spend some time with Tom Dumoulin, who he won the 2017 Giro d'Italia. He's won multiple stages of the Tour de
Yep.
France, very accomplished World Tour pro cyclist. And I was talking to him about his career, and he actually only was ever on two teams, even though the sponsors changed, the names of the
Yep.
teams changed or whatever, but the team structure, the management, and all the people stayed the same for most of his career. Then at the
Yep.
end, he made the switch to the All-Star team, went to Jumbo Visma, and a completely different philosophy, completely different management style, and it really messed with him. It was very regimented, very number centric,
Yep.
and no autonomy. He said, I spent
Uh-huh.
my whole career, uh, most of my career on riding on feel. And
Yep.
and I had the autonomy to train how I saw fit, and I
Yep.
could, and I had success. And then getting on that other team, it was just really tough because
Hmm.
on this day you do this for this long and this, and then everybody's just constantly evaluating it. And he just said, I just felt trapped in a way,
Uh-huh. Yep.
so, but I think everybody responds, everybody's got their own take on it. Some people probably respond really well to that kind of regimentation, and then others need the autonomy and would appreciate working with somebody that's not a god. Sounds like Jumbo Visma, they're god. And probably for good reason. I mean, they've had a lot of success or whatever, but
Yes. Yep.
still, though, I think for most athletes, I think having a coach that would be more of a servant. I mean, I think that's really how you get that partnership and the real success
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually evidence based. Like the research has been done, and that is simply true.
Yeah.
That coaches, um, who, well, just like take the autonomy piece.
Mhm.
In the research, they call it autonomy support. And so the analogy I give in the book is, if you're on an airplane and the pilot is incapacitated due to a health event, and your fellow passengers nominate you to land that plane, and you're not a pilot, would you like to have an air traffic controller telling you what to do? Like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, you would.
Yeah.
So, like, there's nothing wrong with people telling you what to do. To give an extreme example,
Yeah.
but like to have motivation, you have to feel like you are in control of the things that matter to you, and the better coaches support autonomy. So like they're the air traffic controller saying, hey, I got you. Like,
Hmm.
you're not doing this by yourself, but I also trust you. Like, I know that you know your body, and you have a certain style, and so on our team we're going to give you flexibility where we will make sure that you land the plane safely, but we're going to give you freedom, to do it in your way, in your style as an athlete. And I think, the teams that tend to have the best long-term success, they have that type of culture where yeah, there's absolutely some structure, and there's some, like, you better get on the page,
Hmm.
but it's not like dictatorial. Because ultimately athletes are going to perform their best when they have autonomy. I mean, for crying out loud, like they're elite cyclists. Like, how did they get on Jumbo Visma? Like by being
Right.
really great. Like, are you seriously not going to want the athlete's input
Yeah.
into how they do things? Come on.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, it seems logical, but at the same time, it gets back to the God or servant. If
Yes.
somebody's, they're the show, it's my way, and you just have to do it this way if you're going to be part of this
Yes.
thing. Yeah, that seems pretty tough. So one of the things you do in the book is you go from you outline the principles, but then you have from principle to practice, and that's
Yes.
that's really where I think it's so insightful just to how do you take that principle and apply it to you and put it into
Yep.
play, and that's something that necessarily wasn't always part of the previous books that I'm
Yes.
familiar
Yep.
with, right?
Yep.
So that's where it really is a roadmap to mastery, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and then I love the point everything matters, because I mean, I think, where you're from, how you grew up, all these things are factors in, how strong your mind can be
Yep.
and your approach to things. And, like the example you were given of the 14 to 28-year-old, it's like that
Yep.
28-year-old that never got the victory in high school, he's got a chip and he
Hmm.
can use that to fuel him. And
Hmm.
whereas the other athlete doesn't necessarily have that. And
Hmm.
yeah, so that's something really good to kind of keep in mind. Um, yeah, man. So I never take notes. I never make notes usually, but so this is your second time on the show, and each time I feel like I need to I need to make notes because you cover so much and it's so in depth. And yeah, I'm pretty amazed at how you put all the elements together in these books. In the last time you were on, we talked about this thing that was really fascinating to me, brain endurance training. And
Yep.
have you followed up on that? Has there been any additional work done in this area?
I've got to say, probably. I do try to keep current on research, but I mean, like, 2 to 3 times per week, I'm just going on to PubMed uh, and just putting in like search terms like endurance cyclists or distance runners and seeing
Okay.
like what's new. I comb that, and I haven't seen much come down the pipeline. Scientists, like, they respond to fads just like everyone else. So there's a ton of research on like new shoe technology in running, for example.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, I mean, like, I'm hungry for that because there's so much left to be discovered about like what's going on in our brains. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, so it's like, the attention is kind of elsewhere as far as I can see, just based on, combing through, the most recent studies.
Yeah.
But I also think there is like a bit of a technological barrier because it's, I mean, to really map what's going on inside the brain in real time is technologically difficult. I mean, you can do it, but to do it in like a fine-grained way, very difficult. And to do it while someone is like running is not really all that possible at all. So I suspect that there will be a lot more coming down the pipeline in the future. Like things that will have like a practical impact, like learning what's going on inside the brain when people are running, and then turning that into new methods of brain endurance training. Yeah. So for now, all we have is what I know of already is, um, like when you're like just sitting at home in front of the computer, like doing tasks that require you to exhibit inhibitory control, like such as the Stroop test,
Yeah.
um, where like you're just overriding impulses, but it's just brain work. You're sitting, so it's not extra exercise. There's no really extra recovery burden that comes out of that. but it's time consuming, and not many athletes are going to sign up for that because it's boring as
Yeah.
heck. So yeah, I mean, next time we talk, there will probably be some big discovery in this direction that leads to, you know, technology or methodology that allows us to, train our brains outside the context of whole body exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's something I'm really just curious about. Because, Father Time, it's the real deal. And, they have all these tracking mechanisms so you can easily look at how fast you did something in years prior. And I'm at a point now where I'm having a hard time
Yep.
getting back to that point. And so every little edge I can get, just always looking for that edge. And I'm sure a lot of athletes are in that same position.
Yes.
Um, so I would like to talk to you about Dream Run because it sounds like an amazing place. And is it open year round?
Yes, it
Okay.
is. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And
It's
what?
it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say what type of packages are there? Can somebody come for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, 6 weeks? How does it work?
Yes. So I mean, you can do whatever you want, really.
Mhm.
We have a maximum of 12 weeks.
Okay.
Uh, we have, kind of like an official minimum of 1 week. But if we have capacity and someone says, "Hey, I can only come for 3 days," you can come for 3 days. That's fine. But
Okay.
we do encourage like longer stays. It's different from the typical, adult running camp model where it's like 3 to 4 days. Everyone arrives together, leaves together. Here it's more like a pro style, training retreat where, you're not just like coming to Flagstaff for a long weekend. You're kind of moving to Flagstaff
Yeah.
for, a period of weeks. And because, so much more can happen, in an environment like this. You could have a good experience in 3 or 4 days, but you can transform as an athlete if you're here for 8 or 9 weeks. So that's what we offer.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on the website. I was just looking at so there is one-on-one coaching with you, but then you also
Yep.
have someone else that does the coaching as well. And then
Yes.
yeah, there's physical therapy, all kinds of
Yep.
different things that are
Yes.
all part of it. Does the athlete, do they have is there like a menu of services each day and they just kind of fill it out, or is it just like how does that
We
work?
we do most of that ahead of time. So,
Hmm.
for the like running, uh yeah, the running and the recovery part of it, it's me. Like I'm your I'm your guy.
Okay.
I'm with you for the morning mobility session. I facilitate uh the morning group run. There's just a plethora of like beautiful running venues here in Flagstaff and surrounding territories, and so we run in a different place every morning. The middle part of the day is carved out for taking advantage of our recovery lounge or some of those special services like, massage, dietitian, whatever. And then we gather again in the afternoon for like a coaching session.
Okay.
And then, yeah, but mostly, it's just like, we occupy a couple of single family homes in a neighborhood. And like just the kind of normal homes that happen to have things like hyperbaric chambers and cold plunges
Uh,
and things like that.
right.
Uh, but yeah, it's like just like a just like, it's not every runner's fantasy, but it's a lot of runners' fantasy.
Yeah. So at any given time, I mean, how many runners may you have on hand?
In our current configuration, the most we can accommodate, well, we have 7 guest bedrooms and
Okay.
we allow double occupancy. So conceivably, we could have 14
Right.
people here, but it's usually closer to 7.
Okay. And are you finding that is there like the demographic, is it mostly more elite runners or is it more hobbyists that are looking to take it to the next level? Where would you say your client base is generally?
It is all over the place, which was exactly what I was going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, because like, I love running. you
Yeah.
know, it's been a huge part of my life, almost all of my life.
Yeah.
And I want it to be as big a tent as it can possibly be. You know, I mean it when I say like let your passion, not your ability, decide how far you go.
Right.
So like especially, you know, in these fraught times, like I just wanted to create an environment where like everyone could come together and get along if they just had one thing in common, like running. And so we you know, we have people who come here and they don't even race. They don't do races. We've had people who come here who don't even wear a watch when they run. Like you ask
Uh-huh.
them how far did you run? They have no idea. Like
Uh-huh.
I love that. And they'll be staying here at the same time as we've had a two-time Olympian uh,
Okay.
stay here. And sometimes, you know, those two people are together at the same time, and just to see how they vibe, you know, with this like common language of running is
Yeah.
it's my actually it's my favorite part of the whole thing. Just the way it brings people together.
Yeah. Well, when you're talking about passion and ability, I can't help but think about the is it the penguin? Is that
Yeah, yeah.
the penguin, right? Because
John Bingham. Yes.
yeah, and that whole story about, he just wasn't motivated by the same as anybody else. He had his own motivation, and it happened to appeal to a broad audience of people, and
Mhm.
he brought more people to the sport. And I'm the same with cycling. Within the sport of cycling, there's all these niches, right? You have cyclocross and road racing and mountain biking and downhill and dual slalom. And sometimes those guys, each group can be a little clicky about it,
Mhm.
and it's just like, hey man, we're all riding bikes. I mean, this is,
Mhm.
this
Yes.
is,
Mhm.
you shouldn't be hating on somebody else riding a different type of bike. It's kind of
Yes,
silly.
seriously. Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Or go figure. I think, obviously it's probably more of a societal thing, that the tribal nature of things, that,
Yes.
you know,
Yep. So
so,
yeah, I mean, but you know, Catherine Switzer, who broke the gender barrier at the Boston Marathon, which happened today,
oh,
way back in 1967, she said, and I love
uh,
this quote: "If you're losing faith in humanity, go watch a marathon."
yeah.
Yeah. So I am an idealist by nature. I believe that there is good in every single person, and so that's what I'm trying. Like, any coach in a team environment will tell you, like any coach worth their salt, like culture is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think like a healthy culture leads to greatness athletically.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what we're aiming for here. I have to say it's working.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. I love the footage of Catherine in that Boston Marathon, and how she's fighting people off, It's so crazy to think. I mean, that wasn't that long ago,
Nope.
and here we are. It's just hard to fathom the mindset of that. So, we have it in cycling too. I mean, for the longest time, the UCI thought that the Paris-Roubaix was too hard for women to
Hmm.
race, and just things like that. It's just,
Hmm.
but now all that stuff's kind of going away, and it's great to see women finally in cycling. They're finally actually getting their due, right? We have their events are being televised. That they have their own the Tour de Femmes, they call it, and so yeah, it's really really great to see women getting the respect they deserve for their athletic accomplishments. And to think that you had
Hmm.
to fight to run a marathon, how I mean, how nuts is that?
Yes.
You know, it's so crazy. And some of my favorite stories of yours in the books are of women athletes.
Hmm.
The one from, I think it was a comeback quotient, was Jamie Whitmore.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, incredible, and so
Hmm.
many others. In the book you reference, I'm gonna mess this name up, but it's Neg Negechitz crawl to third place.
Ivan Negatic. Yes.
Negechitz, yes.
Yes.
uh, and the whole concept of die running, and she's literally bleeding as she. I mean, it's incredible. The power and of the mind to overcome like these incredible circumstances that you're faced.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was one of those moments where I'm reading it, and I just paused the reading and went right to YouTube, typed it in, It's like I got to see
Nice.
this,
That's what
right?
I wanted.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's so many stories like that, and yeah, you throughout your career, that's what you bring these stories to light, and from I've followed endurance sports much of my life as well, and I'm familiar with some of them, and Kate Courtney was
Yeah.
another one, and but the way that you mix the science, the psychology, and the story all together, I think that's the magic of the whole thing. So, yeah, I just really grateful for your work. Appreciate everything that you've done in that area. And you're talking about this two-time Olympian, and somebody that's the recreational runner, and in the facility at the same time. Maybe that could be a basis for another book.
Hmm. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, actually, not a book maybe, but something like more like a video documentary. It's
Oh,
like almost like I don't know. Uh, it's almost like a reality show,
yeah.
quite
Right.
honestly. Yeah,
Yeah.
because like seriously, at our gathering time we have like at 4 o'clock, like people cry regularly, like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
not for bad reasons, just because you know, it like running means more than running,
Yeah.
to runners, and cycling, it's the same.
Right.
And there's like it's like all of you is tied up in it, and if you're going to come here, then you're probably going to be open to some type of like transformational experience, which could leave you crying on the sectional during
Sure.
during gathering time. So yeah, there's drama to it, in the best of all possible ways. It's not salacious. It's people, just like kind of like finding a new center for themselves, and actually like walking away slightly different, even
Yeah.
if they were only here for 2 weeks, like they're changed.
Right.
And so yeah, it could be like some kind of like Netflix series or something.
Oh man, that would be cool. Well, I know that, in your normal life, if you are as passionate as you are about running, or I am about cycling, um, it's rare that you meet somebody outside of, that you can connect with on that same kind of level,
Yes.
and that I could see how that could get emotional for people, especially if they haven't had anybody in their life
Yeah.
with that level of connection. Um, yeah, for sure. I okay. So I just had this really weird experience. I was cleaned out my fridge, and I ate some chocolate, and it was psychedelic chocolate.
No guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I don't want to, because I did a podcast about it, but I had this really profound experience. Like I had a lot of this chocolate, and it was like, I'm always like, I don't want chocolate in the house, because if it's around, that's like one of my, like I was saying, self-sabotage, self-limiter, I guess I should say. If there's chocolate around, I'm weak. I don't know. I'm very disciplined about some things, but chocolate will get me. So anyway, so we haven't had any chocolate in the house for a long time. And then I get in the fridge, and it's like, wow, look at this. And so I just ate this chocolate, and it was like 5 ounces of it. And I was traveling, and my son brought it home. I didn't know, he told everybody, but I was traveling and I didn't get the memo, and I ate it. And it was really profound. And since then, I'm not an advocate per se, but it did have some really positive impact
Hmm.
on me. But since going through that experience and having all these hallucinations and parts of my life flash before my eyes, I find that I'm really prone, like I can actually, like at any moment, like I could be talking to somebody about something specific, and I get kind of overwhelmed, like emotional sometimes. It's a
Hmm.
really, really pretty strange thing for me, but it
Hmm.
it only happened because of this weird experience. So I'm not proposing that have you ever done anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. In my college years, I didn't
Okay.
expect the conversation to
I'm
take this
sorry.
turn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
no,
a weird
no,
left turn.
like
Yeah.
I am an open book, and so yeah, I've
Yeah.
had psychedelic experiences.
Yeah.
Um, for me, it's actually, the same reason I'm an endurance athlete is the reason I'm open to psychedelics.
Hmm.
And it's that, everyone gets to choose their own path in life. But for me, I like, I crave intense experience. I want the dial turned up to 11 all the time. And
Yeah.
maybe I'll burn out someday, but I haven't yet. And that's, like in endurance racing, I just feel so alive, like so intensely alive. And yeah, there's like an unpleasant part of it, but there's way more to it than that. And like that feeling is just like a drug. And in fact,
Yeah,
it is a
it
drug.
is. Yep.
And so like actual drugs can also kind of scratch the same itch in different ways. And yeah, I'm this way in all dimensions of my life. Like, my marriage is like the most intense thing I've ever experienced. Like, and I want it that way.
Right.
Uh, and yeah, and I think, this is not like, I'm not a unicorn among endurance athletes, that we are
Yeah.
sensation, we're sensation seekers. And
Yeah.
so there you have it.
Yeah. Well, you said it, you were talking about the emotions of this, and it just got me thinking about it, that experience that I had, because I have been a
Hmm.
little bit emotional, like talking about my family or whatever at times with certain people.
Hmm.
And that's something just completely different and out of character for me. But I am similar, like what you described. Crank it to 11. I can't tell you how many times like I hop on the trainer and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to cruise today. Just going to be easy casual, and then all of a sudden, there's sprints or climbs, and it's just next thing I know, I'm just like completely gassed out.
Hmm.
And so how do you temper? Because obviously that's not the best way to improve.
Yeah.
If you're, going 11 all the time, you're going to have days where you're like twos, or you won't even get going at all.
Yep.
Um, and I work with this team in Sacramento, and they have coaches and stuff, and they only go hard like one day a week.
Yep.
Every day is just base miles, and trying to do specific objectives, but
Yep.
not kill yourself. How do you manage that as a coach, when your own motor is telling you I need to go to 11, but you know better that,
Yep.
just go easy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a distinction though, because like I'm talking about turning the intensity dial up to 11 experientially, not necessarily like, in terms of like, you know, actual physiological intensity in training. So
Right.
for me, um, I mean, what you see, we were talking earlier about some of the psychological differences between, champion athletes and, also
The rest
rans.
of us, yeah.
The rest of us, yeah, that's the better way to put it.
Yeah.
Um, is There's a kind of like ruthlessness to the elite focus on whatever works. And so that's actually a very rational orientation. So I mean, it's the nature of the sport. Yeah, you have to have a ruthless devotion to hard work,
Yeah.
but you also have to, um, just have a ruthless devotion to recovery. Like if you learn, oh yeah, this is also needed. Like all you really care about is what works. And so many of like the competitive amateurs, they want it to work a certain way. Like, you know,
Right.
that they want like the paleo diet to work, or they want CrossFit to work, or whatever. And they become wedded to a certain means versus being ruthlessly focused on the end. Um,
Right.
and so, you know, and so that can get you to like, if you're like me, like I have no problem doing my easy days easy, but I still experience those sessions very very intensely, like in a little bit a psychedelic. So it's like, yeah, like now I'm ruthlessly devoted to chilling and
Uh-huh.
just like, and you get in a certain like, that mind state when you're just like turning the cranks on the bike and just like cruising. Like you're creative. You're writing things in your head. If you're a writer like me, you're solving problems.
Yeah.
You're working on your relationships in your head. Like that's actually that's a very intense experience if you understand like this is right for now. I've got intervals tomorrow, and then that's a different kind of intense. But the whole thing is like like all of this is in service of like some objective, performance objective you're trying to achieve out there that makes the whole thing hang together. And then so then the zone two work is just not a
Right.
problem.
Right. Yeah. I guess, when you say intensity at 11, I'm immediately think of physical effort, but
Yep.
there's that mental intensity to stick to the plan. You cover this in a couple different stories, but where you have to be ruthlessly, precise. And I've tried taking this on the bike on an easy day where I try to keep my power between 20 watts, uh, which is really challenging,
Yes.
and but uh, there's a whole thought of just being precise and being focused, and that's an area where you can harness that intensity, put it into your mental focus, and just trying to stay in this zone. Um, yeah, that's something I've been doing recently, and uh, pretty good. But I always say the easy days are the hard days because you have to fight yourself so much. But learning more of these little tricks, mental tricks to make it intense in different ways,
Yep.
yeah, gives you the ability to kind of take the load off a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so
Embrace the easy.
embrace the easy. Easy to say. Um, all right. So last time we had you on, you said, every time I write a book after I'm done, I feel like I shot my wad. And what else could I possibly write about? But then
Yep.
stuff, you're a writer, it just comes to you.
Yep.
Is this the 31st book? Or do you know?
Uh,
It's like 30 books,
I think it's like maybe 36.
36 books. Holy
Yeah.
smokes. Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah.
A lot of
So
books.
are you do you already have concepts and ideas for your next book? Are you in process now? What's a good word?
Yeah, nothing's changed, Mike. Yeah, I'm the same guy.
Uh-huh.
Uh, yeah, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see myself like stopping writing. What form it takes could change.
Hmm.
But for now, yes, I continue to write books. I'm currently working on one titled "Dying to Run," which is
Oh,
about the whole experience I've had with long COVID. Just like being a
yeah.
lifelong runner, being really firing on all cylinders in my late 40s, and then just like wham, this pandemic hits, and I'm one of like, a lot of people died, a lot of
Yeah.
people got better. I'm in the category of people who fell in between. I didn't die, and I also didn't get better.
Hmm.
So I just, you know, just blindsided by suddenly being among the category of the chronically ill. I mean, that sucks for anyone. It
Yeah.
sucks in a special way for an endurance athlete where like, like the disease you have, it goes like straight at your
Right.
ability. I mean, it's not killing me, but it
Hmm.
is stopping me from running.
Yeah.
And just like, navigating that and, starting to come out the other side of it. And yeah, just like an athletic experience, but also just a whole human experience that I hope like anyone who's experienced any athlete who's experienced any kind of adversity can relate to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you what's the prognosis on with something like long COVID? Is there, I mean, I'd imagine it's largely unknown, right? It's a relatively
Yep.
new dynamic. So, do you have any insights into what you're looking at long term?
Yeah. I think from what I've seen, both from looking at the science and then also networking
Hmm.
with other long haulers, is that you just get like the full spectrum. You have people who it really sucks for 6 months and then they're fine. You get other people who suffer some for 6 months and then they're fine and then they're right back in the pit
Right.
again. It's like, oh wow, there's like such a thing as a false recovery, which I've had a bunch of, where
Oh,
I'm like, I'm on my way, here I go, and then oh, the bottom drops out. So I think that's what you get. And but I also think one of the things like I've learned, which is just interesting, is like anytime if you've been infected by a virus, a cold, a flu, whatever, COVID, like it actually changes your body forever. Like even if you're not aware of it, like that's a thing that happened and it leaves a mark. And so, the long haulers are just the people for who for whom like the mark that was left by the virus is symptomatic. So you're actually aware of what it's done to you, but it can take, I'm experiencing it. Like, you talk to me next month, I'll be in a different phase of this. You talk to me next year, I'll be in a different phase of this. It just,
hmm.
it really is just kind of like, who knows? And you just have to let go of what you can't control. And just like any athlete should, and focus on what you can and do what you can to feel good and function. And so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I wish you well with that. That's yeah, not anything you'd ever wish on anybody, and especially somebody that loves to get out and run or ride their bike. I mean, your cardiovascular is such a huge part of, making you go, making you tick, dealing with your
Mhm.
insanity that goes on inside your head.
Yes, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you don't realize how much you need it until you lose it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I've been injured before and it's just, yeah, it's
Yep.
very,
It
very,
sucks.
very tough. Yeah. Yeah. So I have a question about performance and like your own personal performance with running, because you've been running for so long, right? Since you're 11 years old. What uh, was there a time where you achieved your like your optimal mile time? Was that achieved long ago, or because of this all this research and development and the training and the focus, are you still achieving new PRs in terms of mile times?
Yeah, for something like, like 1 mile, I mean, that's something I only did in high school. I actually didn't run in college. I intended to, but I burnt out and got back into it later. And then the
Got it.
opportunities to race like 1 mile just go away.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, but during the pandemic, when all the races went away and athletes like us were going nuts, because I actually did have a healthy period between the acute virus and the onset of the chronic symptoms, like 6 months.
Oh,
And I'm
okay.
I'm now I'm now 49 years old.
Yeah.
So that's where I was. And uh, and I did. There was a virtual mile. My friend James McCurdy, a well-known running coach,
Mhm.
sponsored. He like people are like we're trying to create these outlets for athletes like us who were going crazy. So I
Mhm.
did run a competitive mile. Then it wasn't. I was 49. It wasn't as fast as my my high school
Yeah.
time, but yeah, for me, like I mean, I'm addicted to the feeling of ascending. I feel like I don't really particularly care how I'm getting better. And that I think that's why I was actually pretty comfortable with recognizing that I was past my physical peak, because I realized I was still getting better in the ways that always really mattered the most to me. And yeah, so last October I ran with long COVID at age 53. Ran the longest race of my life, 100-kilometer race in
Oh,
the desert.
wow.
It was 99 degrees Fahrenheit, by far the hardest thing I'd ever done. And I was older and less fit and less healthy than I'd been, since before I got sick.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was all mental,
Right.
and I felt like I was stronger. Like actually, the younger, healthier, fitter me couldn't have done mentally what I did that
Right.
day, and that was really satisfying to me. Just like, oh my God, like this is so hard, and yet I can handle it. And And so, yeah, just like I think there's just always a way if you want it, there's always a way to feel like you're ascending as an athlete, even as you get older.
Yeah. Well, so an event like that, how long does that take you?
Uh, it took me
100K?
it took me 12 hours and 9 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, okay. Well, so the reason I'm asking is I signed up for this event that I've never done anything like this. I mean, I've done some long events, but I haven't done anything like this. It's called Unbound XL. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's
Oh,
in Emporia, Kansas, and it's they have a 100-mile race, they have a 200-mile race, and then they have a 350-mile race. And so I signed up for the 350-mile race. And so I've been training, I changed up my whole training for years. For the last 7 years, I was really focused on elevation gain. I was get 1 million feet a year, and which is really hard on you physically because your legs are just always smoked. You're just doing a lot of rides that most people wouldn't want to do. You're just doing a lot of hill repeats. And it's just, it's not very good. But somehow I got locked into it and it just became what I do. But this year, because I signed up for this event, I changed my training all around and I've been putting in these big ride days. I did 11 hours just the other maybe 2 weeks ago. And then I kind of decided like I'm not going to do any more. It's the events at the end of May. So I just feel like I'm not doing any more of that because it gets really hard and things hurt. And that's just how it's going to be. I don't think anything that I can do. I'd be curious what your thoughts are on this. I don't think there's anything I can do here to change or improve what I'm going to be feeling on the day of. It's just going to be so hard. The winning times are like 22 hours for like the elite. I won't be in that group. I'll be in the, whatever. I don't, maybe 24 to 28 hours. And I've never been on my bike for more than 20 hours. So that's going to be something really challenging. Do you have any insights or thoughts on how I should taper or prepare for this big event?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, well, not obviously, I'll just say it. Like, I have not coached anyone
Yeah.
who's doing what you're about to do.
Yeah.
So, caveat emptor.
Sure.
Like, I do coach a woman who's currently running across America, which is like kind of like
Whoa.
that epic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 30 miles a day for 100 days,
Wow.
running.
That's incredible.
Yeah, truly
Yeah.
incredible. Her name is Betsy Miller. Shout out to Betsy.
Betsy Miller.
Yeah, and she has multiple sclerosis. So if she succeeds, and I am very confident she will be the first person with MS ever to run across America. And uh and so
That's
you know
incredible.
yeah, so the way I coached her, I just wanted to, the thing is that you can't actually train for for
Yeah.
that. It's like it's going to be a great leap just because your body can't adapt beyond. There's a limit to just like
Yeah.
how much you can pile on. So
Yeah.
we built up to her running uh, 40 miles a day on 2 consecutive days. And she also did 30 miles per day for 3 consecutive days, like separated.
Oh,
And then
okay.
that was it. She
Yeah.
was going to have to go way longer than that. But beyond that, it's not training anymore.
Yeah.
And then for her, she just said like we were kind of ahead of schedule because things went pretty well. And when we got to that point, she's like, I just want to shut it down. I want to go to maintenance. I want to focus on the logistics of this thing. And so she had actually a pretty long taper, like probably 3 weeks that were pretty chill going into it. But she had proven that she had the durability to
Yeah.
do it. She wasn't going to lose anything that mattered in 3 weeks of just, and her maintenance, like she was still had like 20-mile runs like here and
Oh,
there.
okay. Right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, but that was nothing compared to what she'd been doing.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
That's
So
incredible.
it's like that kind of approach. Like you just have to, you don't want to over index on the 350 or
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's like you want to focus on what are the limits to my body's capacity to adapt to and like stacked endurance stimuli and like hold it there, and then the rest of the preparation is like mental and nutritional and logistical.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I do. First of all, I think I'm gonna put Betsy Miller's name on my stem. So when I'm thinking about how much hurting, I can draw inspiration from Betsy. That's incredible what she's doing.
Yes.
It's got to be so fun for you to coach somebody like that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm gonna look her up and do some research. But yeah, she's gonna be with me on my stem, and hopefully I can draw inspiration from her. But after my last big ride, it was like, okay, I just feel like it's gonna suck. There's
Yes, exactly. Yep.
everything already hurts. At 11 hours, everything hurts. So it's just a matter of being able to just get my fueling right. I have to get the fueling right. That's the thing I'm concerned about. And then also, I don't really use caffeine. I don't drink caffeine as daily. I don't. So, but I think I might have to incorporate caffeine if I start to get tired. Because if it is more than 20, I mean, staying awake for 24 hours is hard enough.
Mhm.
And then maybe if it's 28 hours and then you're riding your bike the whole time, it could get a little dodgy in terms of just sleep. So those are the things I'm working on. But I think I'm going to be in that. I like Betsy's approach to, I put the work in. I feel like I'm ready, and I'm not going to do anything nuts before as we get close here. I'm just going to try to maintain and be fresh, when you
Yes,
hit it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you're
Well,
not going to be fresh once you start.
yeah.
Might
Yeah.
as well start fresh.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. Well, can you share a little bit about Betsy and how that relationship started with MS? Is she able to run with a normal gait and everything, or
Yep.
does it affect her gait?
Yep. I want to say, so if you, for those who want to look her up, Miller is Mueller. So
Okay.
I
Yes.
was pronouncing it Muller for the longest time, and then eventually her husband corrected me.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, um,
Thanks for making
yeah,
that distinction. Yeah.
yes, yep, definitely worth looking up. And yeah, so Betsy and her husband Chris have born and raised, lived their whole lives in Wisconsin. Betsy was 43 when she was diagnosed with MS. And 2 years later, her family moved to Flagstaff, just because they were both athletes. Chris is a triathlete. Betsy ran. Um, and, she's just one of those, she was a lifelong, very casual runner. But when she got that diagnosis, for whatever reason, strength of spirit, like that's she had no thought of ever trying to run across America.
Yeah.
She had no thought of doing a marathon,
Yeah.
but it was
Wow.
like that diagnosis just made her think, you know what, F you, MS, like I'm just
Uh,
going to go for it. And so we had just started Dream Run Camp when her family moved here, and they were our neighbors. And
Oh,
Betsy had not told anyone outside her family that she had this dream of running across America, and she thought like, I probably should find a coach. And she discovered that she knew about me, and she discovered that I was now like practically her next door neighbor, and so she just came over one evening when we were having like a dream run related like an evening event, and I met her and we talked and I agreed to coach her. And then she said, like, I want to run across America. I haven't told anyone outside my family. Part of the reason they moved from Wisconsin was that they didn't feel, they felt like in the environment there, everyone would think she was crazy and try to talk her out of it. And like, I didn't, I'm like, all right, let's go. I don't
yeah.
know if you do. I don't know if you can do it. I also don't know if you can't do it. So
Right.
let's see. And now she's doing it.
And maybe she's a little crazy, but in the best possible way,
Yes.
right?
Good
Yeah.
crazy. Yes.
Yeah. So, how far has she started already? How
Oh
far
yeah.
along is she?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, she started on March 11th.
Okay.
And she's, I think, now in Texas. We had, yeah, a little bit of a scare coming down because she came through Flagstaff, and so went from Santa Monica,
Okay.
you know, on the ocean, zero sea
Yeah.
level, to 7,000 feet, and then headed east toward New Mexico, and went down and got shin splints from all the downhill.
Oh,
Like, it's like
yeah.
30 miles, like
Oh
straight
man.
downhill.
Yeah.
And so just like, just took a little bit of a reset, fell behind schedule, but we knew that was going to happen. I mean, come on, like,
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah.
going to run across America without something going wrong.
Sure.
But did what was needed, and yeah, has covered like 62 miles in the last 2 days and flying along. Yep.
Oh man. That's incredible. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I'm excited to learn more about it and follow her along her journey. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, all right, Matt. Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast again. We really appreciate having you, and yeah, I just will just patiently wait for the next the next installment, the next book, or like you
Dying to
said,
run.
yeah,
Dying to
dying to
run.
run.
Yeah.
Yeah. How far along are you? Is it like soon, or is it chapter
Yeah,
one?
probably. I'm hoping to get it out maybe like January, February next year.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Yeah.
so
All
yeah,
right. Well, yeah, we'd love to have you back on and go through the process again for
right
sure.
on.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, thanks everybody. Check out dreamrun.com, and then your book's available there, right? On the website?
Not there, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, everywhere, Amazon, Barnes and
Right.
Noble, all the
Yeah.
usual.
How's it doing? It launched just not that long ago, right?
Pretty good. And
Yeah.
I have to say, like, I'm not only the author of the book, I'm also the publisher of the book.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I co-own a company called 80/20 Endurance, which is like a platform for endurance training plans and such. And then we have a little sister company called 80/20 Publishing that is, it's a endurance sports endemic book publishing company. And so yeah, so I am the publisher and the author of this book, which is
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, I
And
get
then
I get I get paid on both sides, which is
that's great.
incredible. Yes.
Yeah. How about with is there going to be an audio version or is there already? And are you reading the audio version?
Yes. Yes to audio version, no to me reading it. The only
Oh,
book of mine I ever narrated for the audio version was How Bad You Want It, and it was the
yeah.
hardest thing I've ever done. And I swore when I finished that I would never do it again. Like, yeah, let the professionals do the reading.
Oh
Yeah,
man. Yeah.
it's so hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine, but man, I don't know. Yeah, that book, obviously we've talked about it before. I mean, that book really, really struck a chord. I mean, I've read it
Mhm.
twice and then I've listened to on Audible a couple different times as well. I mean, yeah, I think you did a great job in reading it, even though it's painful and hard. But yeah, so we'll check out Chasing
If
Mastery now that
if
I've
if
read it on
if they, if
Audible.
they paid me if they paid me enough, I would do it again. But they don't pay me enough.
Oh,
So
I got it. Right. Yeah. You got other things to do, man. You're coaching, you're writing
yes,
books. Yeah, you got
I
other
I
things.
am
Yeah.
busy
So,
guy. Yes.
yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for making the time for Cycle Jerks podcast. And yeah, thanks everybody out there for listening. And we'll catch you next time.
All right. Thank you much.
Thanks, Matt.
If you like what we're doing here at Cyclejerks Podcast and you would like to support us, please check out our website at cyclejerkspodcast.buzzsprout.com. Hit the subscribe button. We shout out all subscribers, so get on it. Another way you can support the podcast would be by giving us a 5-star review on whatever streaming platform that you're listening on. We appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Cyclejerks.
Hey, get out of the road, dummy.
Cyclejerks Podcast.